Mailbag time here at the Broncos Breakdown. We're going to be answering questions that you guys had from our live show, which aired Tuesday afternoon. We go 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain Time every single week, or 3 o'clock Mountain Time, excuse me. So make sure to tune in every other Tuesday and ask your questions. Now, first one is more of a very kind statement here, a super chat from the Leslinator. Best Broncos channel in the nation. Leslie, thank you so much. Now, our first question on today's show is from Garrett, longtime viewer at the channel. Trade Jeudy to trade back in the draft, maybe? Denver was pretty hell-bent on not giving up Jeudy without getting a first in return. It doesn't seem like any team is offering that, but also we are in that no man's land where teams are going to scout wide receivers. And if they deem that Jerry Jeudy is better than Quentin Johnston or Zay Flowers or some other receivers who are getting first-round buzz, well, then you could easily see a Marquise Brown or an A.J. Brown trade last year on draft day. So do not rule out a draft day trade. If a team finally calls and makes the offer that Denver's been looking for, they definitely would think about it and maybe even accept it. But as for just moving up, I don't think Denver's going to be initiating these trade talks. If they get an offer they can't refuse and that prompts them back into round one, well, there you have it. Next question coming in from Demetrios. We really need run-stopping support. I agree. Sean Payton will probably draft a tight end too as the draft is filled with them. This is a very good tight end class, but ultimately I see them trading their picks to move up or down. Denver's only got 5 picks in this draft. They have to make every single one count. Right? They cannot waste picks on players who they don't know if they really have a spot for. And so that's why I wonder, is tight end really the best when you've got an ascending guy in Greg Dulcich and you saw Albert O somewhat get resurrected once Hackett got fired last year? So as for adding run-stopping support, you've got my full agreement in that because they need more defensive linemen. Wazurike out of Iowa State last year was pretty much a non-factor. Matt Henningsen from Wisconsin. I mean, they were just rookies last year, so you can't quite close the book on them, but they need to add more players for sure. Mile High Fandom. Could you see the Broncos trading for Austin Ekeler in any world? Any world that we live in? No. I just cannot see two AFC West teams coming together and making a trade happen to move a star player over. Now, Austin Ekeler, he has been very good. I mean, if you have him in fantasy football, you know what I'm talking about here. Just on the ground, 2 straight seasons of 12-plus rushing touchdowns. He also, of course, adds a ton in the receiving department, where he had 5 last year and 8 the season before. I'm not presenting anyone with any brand new information. We know how good Austin Ekeler is and can be for the Chargers. But at the end of the day, if he was in the NFC West, this would have a lot more legs to it. But they signed Samaje Perine. I don't see why this team feels like they are an aging running back who wants another contract and more money away from really doing a whole lot in 2023. I just don't think it's a good fit for Denver because they're not one running back away. Maybe a team like the Eagles, for example, right? Or a team that's looking to go over the top like the Bills. The Broncos, keep your draft picks. Don't spend that much on an old running back for, 1, 2, at max 3 more seasons. But let me know, should the Broncos add another running back? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Timur Geis, I hope I pronounced that correctly. We need depth at corner, especially if Hicks gets in trouble from his arrest. This is true. Van Hicks was arrested in Florida on a concealed carry charge. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have the exact lingo down correctly, but I'll be honest. Whether or not Hicks got arrested for that, that does not change my outlook on the Broncos cornerback room for 2023. I did not have Hicks penciled in to be a big impact player this season. They need to add some extra depth behind Damari Mathis and K'Wan Williams because they are one injury away from a cornerback going on the field and everyone in attendance going, who is that? And you don't want to be that guy early in the season. So I could see them using one of their first 2 picks on a corner for sure. What's going on, Eddie Martinez? Would you rather move up in the draft or move back and get more picks? I think there was a bit of a fallacy with the idea of I'd rather have 10 picks rather than 6 good picks. So if Denver finds someone that they love in this situation, bundling those 2/3 and getting a guy in the second, I'm not going to be pitching a fit over. In general, it's very situational. I know I'm not giving you a clear-cut answer, but for the Broncos in 2023 with their 5 picks, I'd probably rather see them move back a little bit because they're not one guy away in the second round from doing a whole lot this year. Now, maybe that's a good pick for the long term, but the draft is a bit of a crapshoot. So if you can pick up some more picks for this year, or better yet, next year, when you're really trying to do something, if you're moving on from Russell Wilson and you're like, you know what, the Russell Wilson starting days are over, we go back into the 2024 draft, we've got our first round draft pick, we still don't have a day 2 pick or second round pick because of the Sean Payton trade, but we got some thirds, we got some fourths, and we feel like we are ready to make some moves. Now, if you want to be on a future mailbag, they're subscribers only. So it's completely free. Hit that sub button. And if you're already subscribed, turn on your notifications. Hit that notification bell icon. And when you do, you'll know when we're going live, like mailbags right now, so you do not miss out. Jackson Nicholson, what's going on? Do you think the Broncos could pick up Devin White for cheap? Good question. Devin White, former 5th-round pick out of LSU, has not lived up to 5th-round pick status. He's had kind of a roller coaster-ish career. Slow start, was great when they went and won the Super Bowl, but last year, he was not a good off-ball linebacker. Devin White probably runs you, I don't know, a 4th-round pick at most. Now, here's the issue. They've just invested a lot into Alex Singleton, and they've still got Josie Jewell for 1 more year. So if they're adding Devin White for $11 million, by the way, that's what you have to pay him. Who are you moving on from? You're going to add Devin White and then trade away Josie Jewell? Or you're going to run with 3 off-ball linebackers, which they're not currently slated to do. So I just don't see it being a good fit for the Broncos. Plus, if you're trading for him, you better have hopes to either win the Super Bowl that year because he's the last piece of the puzzle, or you want to extend him. Neither one of those things fit the Broncos for 2023. Eddie Martinez again on the show. Which wide receiver will have the biggest impact next season? Under Sean Payton, I think Tim Patrick is some good stock to buy into, but I think Jerry Jeudy, the way he ended last year, finally felt and looked like he started to click, right? He started to look like the 15th overall pick in the draft, the wide receiver 1, the wide receiver for this team for 2, maybe even 3 contracts. So I'm hoping it's Jerry Jeudy. That's who I'm going to go with, but keep an eye on Tim Patrick. Peyton the GOAT. After seeing Jeff Okudah get traded, could you see Denver trading for a cornerback like Greg Newsome? You know, it's kind of a bummer that Jeff Okudah got traded just because the night before I saw from one of those, crappy NFL Twitter accounts saying Jeff Okudah might get traded, and then he got traded to the Falcons the next day. But anywho, there was an interesting story with Greg Newsome to get back on track here where a Browns reporter said Greg Newsome wants to get traded, and then Greg Newsome quote tweeted that and said more or less, no, right, not, from Borat. And then that tweet got deleted from the reporter, and it sounds like he's staying in Cleveland. So I don't see Denver trading for a corner because they are on fumes when it comes to assets right now. And if you want to say F them picks, you better win the Super Bowl. And does anyone think Denver's winning the Super Bowl this year? Because I don't. Now, Greg Newsome, if we're going to take a, more zero-in approach on the former first-round pick out of Northwestern, he has been good. He has not been great through 2 seasons. I know that Cleveland started him off outside his rookie season, and then last year they moved him to the nickel, right? Trying to be a Bryce Callahan, if you will. Just not a good fit for him. So maybe because his value is kind of a bit low right now, you could get him for, I still think it would cost you a second round or something Denver doesn't have. So I don't see the Browns wanting to move on from him, and I don't see I don't see Denver looking to make a trade for him. So with that being said, we're going to get to some more questions in just a second, but sort of an off-the-wall question here. What's your favorite pizza spot? Now, Chat Sports is located in Dallas, Texas. I don't know if anyone watching right now lives in Dallas. There is no good pizza in Dallas, Texas. My favorite pizza spot is a New York chain called Grimaldi's. So let me know your your favorite pizza spot down in the comment section. Eddie Martinez asking, what would be the best alternate helmet? Good question. I mean, it's a little hard to answer without a visual aid, but I think some icy white helmets could be pretty cool. Now, the issue is, I think the Arizona Cardinals have the worst helmets in football because it's more or less a third-grade art project, right? It's a Word doc. It's a white blank canvas, and they put the logo in the middle. So that's my fear on that, but I didn't oppose the gradient the Jags had. Remember that? The gold into black gradient? It wouldn't probably happen with the Broncos, but unpopular opinion, I liked it. So I think an orange and blue swirl could be ugly, could be cool, but it could be ugly. It's hard to say without seeing it beforehand. Tyrone, what's going on? How much money would it take to get Patrick Surtain signed to a long-term deal? So you can't extend Surtain or any player until their third year in the league is up. So Surtain is going to get a monster extension next offseason. Now, Jair Alexander recently got paid. Well, he got the biggest payday most recently last year by the Packers. 5 years, $100.5 million. That's an average of $20 million-ish a season. Surtain's going to look for $22, $23 million a season. So 5 years, what's the math on that? 5 years, 115, something like that. I don't think it's going to be 125, but he's going to be looking and he'll be deserving of a 5-year, $22.5 million a season type of contract. So that's what you can expect to see for Surtain next offseason. It's going to get done. This is just something the Denver Broncos will not screw up, I hope. All right, before we get on out of here, one more time, your favorite pizza spot, sound off in the comment section below.